What is going on, everybody? It is officially Red October. Padres fans would not claim it Red October, and the rest of the fans that have lost, the Mets fans in particular, hello, Mets fans. I am joined today by the great Tom McCarthy, Phillies broadcaster for decades now. Is that fair? Decades?
Yeah, it makes me feel old, but yeah.
Decades. Northeast Philly, Jersey's finest, and also Brian O'Grady with Breaking Bats and pro baseball player. How you doing, Brian?
Good, man. Good to be here, and good to see you again, Tom.
You guys too. What part of the world are you in right now?
I just got back home to Florida on a week ago.
Oh, okay.
Yep, very happy.
Brian is back. Brian is back from playing in Japan. Again, check out Brian, Justin Ayers on the Breaking Bats podcast. This is a joint effort with the Breaking Bats podcast, the Colin Thompson show. It's playoff baseball. And, I don't have a ton of baseball guests on because our baseball show's killing that. But Tom's a friend, a great guy. The quick story how I met Tom, for those that don't know, Tom's a broadcaster for the Phillies. After Harry Callis became the kind of the voice of my childhood. And I'm with the Bears, and I look down the sideline. I'm on the practice squad with the Bears, and Tom's there because he's going to do interviews with Mark Sanchez or Mitch Trubisky or Mike Glennon, maybe it was at the time, and talk to the Bears guys for a Christmas Eve game against the Browns at home. And I was like, I got to go meet Tom. I'm going to meet Tom. What do I have to lose? So I kind of barged my way into the media meeting, and now we met, and now you've been on our show. So I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been quite the journey.
It's funny. I told a story the other day about that game. So I had to be home. My wife said, you can do that game, but you cannot miss Christmas Eve Mass. So I walked in to Mass at 10 o'clock that night in Jersey. I don't know how we did it, to be honest with you. I don't know how. I had my boys with me, too. They were spotting and doing stats. And we walked in, literally, the priest was waiting before he started the Mass at 10 o'clock. It was pretty funny.
Do you ever journal these things down, Tom? I think that's my one regret is I wish I've journaled some of the craziest days I've had in sports because I would look back and laugh. Like when I'm tired in the off season, I've done two things and I see my day. I'm like, I haven't stopped moving since 5 a.m.
Yeah. It's funny. I thought about that the other day because there are a couple of them. I remember doing a Rutgers game when I did Rutgers radio, and I had to do the Phillies pre and in between games of a doubleheader on the radio too. So I was doing the Rutgers game, and it was going into overtime, and the game finished 5 minutes before I was supposed to go on the air to do the Phillies pregame show, and I'm doing the pregame show, and it's raining in Cincinnati, I think it was, so I had to then take phone calls, and I had a bunch of people from the Rutgers game calling and saying, I'm not really sure how you're doing this right now, if you know what I mean, because I'm on two different radio stations. I mean, it was just funny. That kind of stuff is funny.
It is funny, man. It is great. It is awesome. And it's a fun part about the job and being involved in sports. Everything's up in the air. You got to roll with it. Where are you at now? What is your schedule looking like today?
So I'm in San Diego. I got to be over at the ballpark at 2 and start doing some interviews, meet with Rob Thompson, Philly Rob, as people call him, and just get kind of ready for today's game. I'm excited about it. Weather's awesome here. I've been up since 4:30 because I can't get adjusted to the time. Brian knows something about that. And it's been great. It's been great.
Man, Tom, I'm definitely a little jealous. I'm not going to lie. It's San Diego is a great place. That weather you're talking about is absolutely phenomenal. But, it's funny for me because obviously I grew up in Philly. So Phillies still have a soft spot for them. And then, my last MLB team was the Padres. So I know most of those guys on that team. And it's pretty cool. But do you think there's going to be any, not nervousness, but San Diego has been so amazing. I know Philly has too with the crowds and everything since the playoffs started. And San Diego, all they have is the Padres now. So do you see that home field advantage, really turning any momentum there for the Padres?
Well, I know what it did for us against the Braves this past weekend. I mean, Citizens Bank Park is raucous when it's postseason time, and they hadn't been there in 11 years. So I heard it was pretty intense here in the Dodgers series. I can't wait. Here's the thing. Game one, to me, this is just my experience as a guy watching it. Game one seems to go by so fast. There's butterflies, people – there's like weird stuff that happens. So I'm interested to see how both teams kind of, if they're acclimated to the postseason and if there's a little bit more of a relaxation going into this game compared to, let's say, Phillies game 1 against the Cardinals and game 1 against the Braves. I'm interested to see how that's going to work today. But yeah, I think the crowds at both places can lift up the teams. I know it happened last weekend in Philadelphia, and I'm sure it's going to happen here in San Diego.
Yeah, you've said it before how great Citizens Bank Park gets at its peak, at its highest, and it is really amazing. Like, I talk to people about it all the time because people ask me from Philly, and I'm like, listen, folks, like I'm from Philly. I get it. I see it. I saw it when we were here in Carolina last year, and the Eagles played us, and it was like a home game for the Eagles, and we went silent cadence the whole fourth quarter. We had people jumping off sides, like we didn't practice silent cadence all week. We're at home, right? So I understand all that. I think the question for me when I look at this and I look back, I remember 2018 and the big free agent, the monsters of Bryce Harper and Manny Machado, and you're just looking back and you're like, you know, people are arguing, do you trade for Manny and then sign him? And then Bryce is coming available. He's not going to leave Washington, and then Washington ended up winning the next year. But Philly, 13 years, $330 million for Harper. And then Machado, 10 years, $300 million, right? So these mega deals, who's won those signings, and then who's more important to, you know, each franchise in this playoff series?
Yeah, it's a good question. I actually think both teams have made out on the signings, because I think, as much as I think Manny is a wonderful player, I mean, he's awesome. He's a generational type talent. I think he's right where he needs to be in San Diego. And I think the same with Bryce. I think Bryce could have fit anywhere, but he fits Philadelphia. So I've always said to people that he's the least of the Phillies issues. Like, he is the least of the Phillies issues. So I think both have kind of won that one. I really do. And I think it's worked out. I mean, for both cities, it's a lot of cachet, but Bryce has been worth every penny of it. He really has.
That was a great question, Colin, and I think that's a phenomenal answer. Both guys have definitely lived up to the billing there, and it's going to be a great series to watch. And staying along those lines with Harper, the last time the Phillies were in San Diego, Blake Snell hit him, and that's how he ended up on the injured list. So, and obviously that's a big matchup there, left on left. So what do you see in that matchup? And Snell threw really well his last outing. So how do you think that's going to go?
Yeah, pitching was great in that series. That when the Phillies and Padres faced each other here in San Diego, and it really was even in Philadelphia. And their 3 wins are shutouts against the Phillies. Bryce talked about that yesterday. He said, you know, he's known Blake Snell for a long time. He's known him since he was like 11 years old, which is kind of weird that a lot of these guys have played together on all these travel teams, the San Diego Stars, Musgrove, Harper. I guess Blake Snell played on a travel team with Harper too. He said he's not really fazed by it. I don't think he will be. If this was his first weekend back, I mean, you know how it is, Brian. I mean, I think he'd be a little jumpy because he was last year when he got hit by, was it Gallegos or Cabrera from the Cardinals? One of those guys. He got hit in the face. So it took him some time to get back rolling. But I think he's going to be fine. I really do. It was funny, though, listening to him talk yesterday about that and about the relationship that he had with all these other guys because of travel ball. But I think he's going to be fine facing him.
Love it. I love it. Go ahead, Brian. What do you got?
No, I was just going to say the last one that I was thinking that just popped in my head. We have the Nola versus Nola series going here.
First time ever. First time ever. First time ever in postseason baseball. At least this is what I've been told, because our research department looked at it, that a brother will pitch to a brother in a postseason game. First time ever. Like there have been guys that have faced each other, like Ken Boyer and Clete Boyer and Dane and Garth Orge and the Alomars when Roberto was with Baltimore, which I forgot that he played for Baltimore, and Sandy was with Cleveland, but they never faced each other pitching to hitting. So this will be the first time. It's pretty cool. I feel bad for AJ and Stacy Nola, mom and dad, because I mean, AJ, they wear it on their sleeves. I mean, that's got to be tough. It's got to be tough.
It is the ultimate win-win, though. I mean, Brian's now a parent. I'm not one yet.
Yeah.
But that's the ultimate win-win. Like, it stinks. Yes, one of your sons will lose. But then you get to go on this amazing journey to the World Series and be a part of that, too. And I'm sure the other brother is going to just come to the World Series. I know the Kachuk brothers were doing it in the NHL, and they're just drinking beers in the stands and having a good time. Like, it's really shitty that your team won't make it to the World Series, but hey, that's a pretty good consolation prize.
Well, it's funny because it didn't even, I guess obviously I knew the winner of this is going to the World Series, but until they said it the other day that they looked at each other and said, one of our boys is going to the World Series. And it was kind of overwhelming for them. And it's got to be. I mean, it's got to be overwhelming for them. Listen, I still get antsy when my son plays his independent ball games. I mean, I can't imagine watching both boys face off against each other. It's got to be an incredible experience. The funny thing is Austin is the overachiever. Aaron was a first-round pick that was expected to be in the big leagues. Austin really had to turn himself into a big league player by going behind the plate. So it's a really cool story.
Yeah, that is a great story. And I want to get into Brian talking a little bit about San Diego here, but I'm going to ask you about it, TMAC. What's the vibe in San Diego? I was out there this offseason. Obviously a really cool, amazing place. Yeah. My uncle has the most takeoffs and landings on the aircraft carrier sitting there in the harbor. So, so I had some cool history.
Right outside my window. It's that is an unbelievable. It's unbelievable taking a look at that thing. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, the Midway. Shout out to Captain Ken Stalk.
The Midway. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, literally, I'm looking at it outside my window.
No, it's fantastic. But for me, it's the what's the vibe there? I thought it was really cool. Everybody wore Padres hats when I was out there. We went there in March, and it's like the only team really. Chargers left, but everyone has the Padres hats. They're all different colors. Like it's kind of everyone's bought on it. What's the vibe out there, Tom? And then Brian, can you share a little bit about the fan base out there?
Yeah, it's funny. It's hard to tell sometimes because there's so many conventions and people from outside of town that are here, including Philly fans that I saw when I was walking yesterday. But they're definitely into it. I mean, it's, we sold out in minutes. They sold out in minutes. So, I mean, they're into it just from like walking around the town, going through the gas lamp district. You're right. They have nothing else. They have San Diego State, they have University of San Diego, and they have the Padres, and that's it. And that to me, they have a women's soccer team that's in the playoffs now too.
They're huge.
That apparently they sold out that place as well. So, I think
they have dollar beer night at the AAA hockey team, or not AAA, the AHL hockey team. I think they have the goals. I think they have a dollar beer night. And it gets packed, which is great.
Yeah, it's a great sports town, man. I mean, it's after being there, I feel bad that the Chargers left, really, but
it's ridiculous.
It just
thanks.
It for sure, but it just made all those teams you just named that much more important to the city, and especially the Padres. I mean, the Padres, those games, Van, were always fun to play in last year. The stadium's beautiful, like you said, it's right next to the gas lamp district, so there's plenty to do down there. And the weather's perfect 99% of the time. So it's just a great I would sit there and look around. I remember standing next to Joe Musgrove and being like, man, it'd be hard to play anywhere else after seeing it, like being in this stadium all the time, because it's just a great place. And then they just took down the Dodgers, which was the big thing for them. That rivalry is insane, even during the regular season. And they haven't fared great until now. But the playoff, I mean, it's just going to be amazing. The atmosphere is going to be crazy. I know Citizens Bank has been phenomenal too, but yeah, you're definitely going to experience something amazing there in San Diego these days.
I'm excited about it. I mean, I always wonder too. We played a lot of day games. Today's at 5:05 or 5:35, whatever it is, and tomorrow's at 1:35. I wonder if that's going to have any kind of an impact, because it definitely impacted Atlanta. That place is raucous at night, and it wasn't as raucous during the day. Although,
what do you think about those schedules, Tom? I think that was crazy by the MLB, in my opinion.
I've always been an advocate of day games in the postseason, because I remember when I was a kid coming home and watching a lot of those postseason games. So the fact that we have so many of them this year, for me, I think it's great. But I do know for people that are out and about and have stuff to do, it's not that great. It's hard for people to kind of get a chance to see it. In the East, it'll be okay, because tonight it's at 8:05 or 8:35 their time, and tomorrow it's at 4:35. So more people will get a chance to see it than they would out here in the West Coast.
Yeah, there's a lot to. I went off. I had a rant about it because I just thought it could have been a lot more. Yeah, I just thought there could have been a lot more organized. I had some people come up to me too. It's funny with the podcast. You never know what people are going to see. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I had this great take and no one comments on it. I think it's great. And then I just complain about the MLB and everyone's like, I completely agree about that. That was BS. I was trying to watch that. I just hated how like it was Seattle, who has not made the playoffs in so long, and it's noon for them.
Yeah.
Like, come
Yeah.
on, man. Like that should be at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, 8.
Well,
and I
that's
get the
what
Yankees move that meter too.
I actually thought our game today would be at 9, and I thought tomorrow would be a night game too because of the West Coast. But yeah, but now we'll fly home tomorrow after the game, which is actually pretty good because then they'll have all day on Thursday, to get themselves caught up.
Who wins and why, TMAC?
I do think the Phillies are going to win. I think it's going to be in 6 games. I think that these first 2 though are important because you've got Wheeler and Nola going against the top guys for the Padres. So if you can get a split here, I do think we're coming back to San Diego, which I don't think is a bad thing. But if they get a split here, that's going to be huge for the Phillies to go home and get 3 games at home before they come back here. And I think it's very even offensively. Their teams are very even offensively. It's going to come down to me. I don't know if Brian, if you agree with this. It's going to come down to the 3 and 4 starters in the rotation, and it's going to come down to the back end of the bullpen. That's to me the biggest thing.
Yeah, I'm so excited to watch this series here, honestly, because both teams are coming in hot. Obviously, both teams have star power, and I don't see a clear winner here. If you're asking me, I would go Padres because I do think the pitching is just a little bit deeper. I like you said, the 3 and 4 starters with Snell, how he's been throwing.
Yep.
If he throws that way, because of that, I like the Padres. But you're right. I could see this going either way, and I really do think it's going to be the best series of the postseason.
Yeah, I like the matchup, the offense, the fact that the offenses are very similar. I mean, I really do. It's the Phillies got to get the top 2 guys going, Schwarber and Hoskins. Hoskins started to get going in the last series at the end, but I think that's important for them to get going, particularly the right-handers against Snell. I think that's going to be a big deal.
Bry, before T-Mac goes, he's going to be on the air. He's going to be calling these games. Can you give him a little something about what to expect from these San Diego Padres? Like, okay, maybe 2 or 3 pitchers that you faced in BP, maybe a field position player that that can bring some damage off the bench. Give him a little insight so he can talk about it on air.
I think some guys that people may not know that Tom's probably going to see here is one guy out of the pen. His name's Tim Hill, who is a sidewinding half submarine lefty that throws about 91, 92 from down there. It's lanky. He's a freak. Old Timmy, great dude. I faced him a long, long time ago in short season, and I didn't know. He struck me out. I'm like, where is this guy throwing from? What is going on? And I didn't find out that it was him until spring training with the Padres that year. I'm like, great. Oh my God, that was Timmy. Yeah. He was with the Royals back then. So he's definitely one. And then these unknown guys who have signed from Japan, Robert Suarez coming out of the pen,
where the heck
did he come from? Yeah, his story is pretty crazy. I don't even know the whole thing. He was in semi-pro in Venezuela while he was working, and then Mexico, and then to Japan, and now he's out there throwing 100. And obviously Josh Hader there, but 2 big guys. Timmy, I think, will get some big outs. Might have to come in for Harper there, left on left, and then Suarez keep doing what he's been doing. Those are pretty good matchups.
Yeah, there you go, T-Mac.
61 Ks and I think 48 innings or something like that. And he wasn't here when we faced him last time. He wasn't here. So it is a really interesting story. I mean, listen, baseball is so crazy. You can find guys anywhere. I mean, you just got to, if you have a dream, you've got to be persistent about it.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Like that, any and all pro sports, realistically. Baseball is a little more specific, right? Because you can pull up, guy comes in and just throws 6-7 pitches and his night's over. T-Mac, you're on the call tonight. Are you doing radio?
Yeah, radio 5th and 6th. So Scott Fransky, me, Scott Fransky, LA, and then Greg Murphy doing the pre and post game show. So yeah, they've been nice enough to slide me in to do a couple innings, which I'm really grateful for. I mean, it's because doing TV in a regular season, most guys are done. Like they're done working at this point. And I was basically planning on just being like an extra man, but they were nice enough to grant me a chance to do a couple innings, and it's pretty cool.
Well, you're the man. You're doing it for CBS for football.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing some baseball stuff, the playoffs. It's awesome. You deserve it all, man. Tom, thanks for coming on my show. Thanks for coming on Breaking Bats. Thanks for being a friend of Not For Long Media. We really appreciate you.
You got it, guys. Be good. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
That's a great Tom McCarthy on the Colin Thompson Show, pairing up with our friends over at Breaking Bats. Everything we do here at Not For Long Media is brought to you by our friends over at Fudge Kitchen, fudgekitchens.com, shipping fudge and sweet treats across the country. The tight ends were going to town on some fudge this week, Brian. So
true story. Last night, I just ordered a couple pounds of fudge. So I'm very excited for it. Yeah.
Look at that.
Bunch of flavors.
It's so good. It's awesome. It's so fresh. The Jersey Shore saltwater taffy is awesome too. Check them out, guys. Fudgekitchens.com. It's great. We're gonna have Brian on here for the rest of the show. Brian and I didn't even talk about it, but I just do kind of my little shtick and we go from there. But I want to ask you some questions, Brian, about kind of what's going on, like what's going on in the players' minds. Like take us into like maybe a schedule today. Okay, the game's at 5:00 Pacific time. Like when are you waking up? What's the meals looking like? Are you getting a sweat in? Are you getting a lift in? Like, how does it work in the baseball world?
Yeah, that's all up to each player. Basically, you'll have, batting practice or a team. I've seen some pictures. Looks like they have a little bit of team stretch going now. So if they're doing a team stretch, it's probably, I don't know, 1 or 2 something in there. Get out on the field, do the batting practice. Pitchers will throw and do all that stuff. But guys, that's when you got to be there. So depending on guys' routines, they'll get in probably anywhere. I would say clubhouse would open at about 11:30. If you want to get in, get a workout, any training stuff, whatever you need to do. And then breakfast would be on your own, whatever you want. And then there'll be lunch and all that kind of stuff at the stadium after that. So it's more individual in baseball. You got to be there for that team stretch or on the field stuff. But before that, you'll have guys showing up at all different times.
What is your routine when it comes to batting practice? Can you give us any insight on that?
Yeah, so it depends day to day, but typically anybody mostly will start in the cage, take, whatever your routine is. And that could be tee, that could be front flips, that could be some machine in the cage, it could be all of them. That's really more your technical kind of focus work, really getting into it and working on mechanics or whatever it is. And then once you get out on the field, it depends on the day. It could be, guy throwing BP like normal. And then your rounds, then some guys, they're starting the other way, trying to just drive the ball the other way. Some guys are just letting it eat, trying to hit homers the whole time. And then it could be, depends on the day too. It could be a machine out there. It could be a slider. It could be a fastball, whatever. Same thing. Could be, it's very individual. Whatever gets you feeling best for the game is what obviously matters. So some guys, that's line drive over the shortstop's head. Some guys, that's I'm trying to hit this ball out of the stadium. And it just all depends. I know, like Bryce Harper, as far as I know, doesn't even take batting practice on the field really anymore. I know he did that for a long time. I'm not sure if he still does because some guys, it doesn't help your swing be ready for the game if you're trying to hit balls into the stands the whole time. If you're in the cage, no one's watching it. You can just do your little thing and get a better feel for how you want it in the game. So some guys are like that.
Yeah, the adrenaline gets ticked up a little bit. Even though you're just in the stadium, it makes you do something. I stop with my warm-ups, like take people back into the football world. In college, I was in Florida first, and I wasn't healthy, and but I watched a lot, and I saw a lot of these great players. And like I saw Odell in college, like in warm-ups, like these one-handed catches. Like this was before he was Odell, right? Like he just was a college receiver at LSU. I knew he was good, but I don't know, it was like Jarvis Landry and him. But I remember like, oh, I'm like, cool. Like this is how people warm up. Like they run around and they get really loose and they're soaked in sweat. And like, this is how it goes. And then I got to Temple and started doing that stuff. And I had like a GPS on. And one of the guys like, dude, your player load is more in warmups than it is in a game. Like what you do is like your volume is just like, so I was playing like 2 games instead of 1. So I was like, okay, like I'm done with that. And now I do the bare minimum. I just go out there. I go out like right after the 2 hour before the game meeting, do a quick 5-minute meeting. I just catch a couple footballs, like just walk around, get some fresh air. I'll visualize some of my drops on special teams and things. And then I'll just go out with the team and just like go and play. And it's our normal warm up and then play right before we go. But because before I was doing this, I was like 4 stretches, like doing stuff I don't even do before practice. And then I was making the game way bigger than what it was instead of like, it's just practice against another team. And then I settled in and it's helped me. I just really picked that up. Like honestly, like 3 years ago, my first year in Carolina. So man, I was a nut job of warm-ups before. I was nuts. Bri, so we do a segment here. And I'm springing all this on you too. This is how I do it because I think it leads to better stuff. I do a segment here called Matchups, brought to you by Wealth Advisory Services. Wealth Advisory Services, if you don't know them, you should. Located in Doylestown, Bucks County, all the way down to Cape May. They work with everybody in the Bucks County area. They work with people nationwide, from 401k to retirement. They do it all. Paul, Dave, and their team, 100 years of experience. They're just great people. I've been fortunate for work with them, for them to manage my money for a long time now when I had nothing and when I have a little bit. They've helped me with planning, buying a house, buying a car, all these different things. Matchups is brought to you by wealthadvisoryservices.com. So we do matchups, Bri, and it's something to look forward to like this weekend. Like last week, I was like, I wanted to see Kyle Shanahan's offense versus Atlanta because Kyle Shanahan, last team he was with was Atlanta. And I talk about like a right tackle versus an edge rusher, like look into the game a little bit. The Padres and Phillies. We're talking Phillies. It's Red October. It's whatever the heck they want to call it out there in Padresville and beautiful San Diego. God, what a good time. If I'm a Phillies fan and I'm off this week or something, I'm finding a way there, right? Like, Great trip. Who's a matchup you looking forward to? Is it like Bryce Harper versus Musgrove? Like, is it like the bullpen of the Padres versus like the Phillies bats? Like, is there something like each head coach, like take me in? Is it the equipment managers? Like take me into like you knowing these two teams really well. And who's the one particular matchup you're looking at this week or two?
I think it's got to start with Harper, like you said, right? He obviously had a great series, really postseason in general, but it was really good against the Braves, looking, like the best version of himself. So I would say the entire pitching staff against Bryce Harper. Obviously, the starters are going to have the biggest work there. Darvish, Musgrove, like you said, and then Snell, and if it's Clevenger and whoever else. But if you're the Padres, in my mind, obviously the Phillies have some good hitters with some really good track records in there too. Schwarber, Hoskins, Real Muto, Castellanos. I mean, that's legit. But you can't let Harper beat you, right? You can't let Harper beat you. In my mind, that's the biggest thing. So that's definitely one. And then a low-key one would be how the Phillies handle Trent Grisham, who's the Padres center fielder who, good buddy of mine, had a tough year, just to say it flat out. Had a tough regular season hitting the ball. He's coming to the postseason, homer back-to-back games off Scherzer and DeGrom, and has hit really well this entire postseason, which was a huge lift for the Padres, who, he's very good defensively. They maybe weren't expecting that. But now you put that in there too. I'm interested to see, how he plays, if he keeps swinging a hot stick. And then it's easy to say Machado and Soto, whatever. Those guys, obviously, if they kill you, that it might be a tough series. But very interested to see that matchup with Grisham there too.
That's a great point. For Grisham, like it doesn't even matter how the regular season goes, right? Like he is like people are going to talk about it. He won't even like, yep, I had a great postseason. Like that's the best part about the postseason. I've heard people say that in hockey, like you have a down year. Like Danny Briere used to do it for the Flyers. Like he would just be like 20 goals and it was just kind of solid. And then he'd have like a hat trick and play, Stanley Cup playoff games. Like, man, this guy's the legend. Like he could stink it up. So good for your buddy, man. And that's how people get paid too, playoff baseball. Yeah. Don't anybody fool you too. Like guys could have great years in the NFL this year, but like people get paid how they play in December and January. It's just point blank. And someone who's been nicked up like me, like I have that in mind too, man. I'm like, know that too. Like, hey, it is what it is. Not great that you're dinged up, but come back and perform when you need it the most. No, it's great. I love those matchups, man. And that's why I was so jacked to have you on, because these two teams, just incredibly well. So really my matchup, and it bleeds into my matchup brought to you by Wealth Advisory Services, leads us into Bus One, which is brought to you by the Original Fudge Kitchen, is our Bus One member, which, Bri, like when you go on a bus and you travel with a team, right? Football, we have a big team. We have operations. We have all these people. So you have a list of like your seat on the plane, and then you have the bus number you're on. So I've always been like bus 4 in the NFL, bus 5, bus 6. But in college, I was on bus 1 and 2. So if you're a bus 1 member at Not For Long Media, Colin Thompson show, like you had a great week. You're a stud. You're a big either fan, followers. Like you're a bus 1 member. Like you're a bus 1 for us. So the bus 1 member for me this week and the matchup, it all blends together here. Brought to you by Wealth Advisory Services and Fudge Kitchen, is Philly sports fans. Point blank, period. Like have a week, Philly sports fans. Obviously, the Eagles are having a great year. The Flyers are 2-0. The Sixers are starting this week. But really, Philly is a baseball town. It really is. It rallies around the Phillies so quickly, and people want to watch the Phillies so bad down the Jersey Shore in the summer. But if they're just pedestrian, they won't watch. Like it's a loyalty thing. Like, hey man, the bankroll is the bankroll for the Phillies. Like you have to win, you have to produce. So again, they're bus 1 members this week for me. Philly sports fans, primarily the Red October crowd that are at those games. That is incredible atmosphere. I had multiple people text me about it. Multiple people send me tweets and videos of just people going crazy at games. Awesome. And that's the matchup for me is like the Padres faithful. You have one team there. They're going to be rallying around them. You know, they're going to be. And then Philly, who's got like 50 teams that are good at this point of time. And you're all crazy. So bus 1 for me this week, Philly sports fans, and the matchup too is Philly sports fans versus the Padre fans. Like, can they compete? Because that matters in the playoffs. And everyone's got a good baseball playoff home field advantage, but some are better than others. I mean, you saw what Schwarber said. Like he played in Chicago, he played in Boston. You played for some big places, Brian. I'm going to ask you in a second, but he was like, "There's nothing like I've ever experienced in my life." Schwarber said that. For you, Brian, anywhere on the road in your baseball travels, even could be even in the minors, even could be in Japan, could be in the majors, that you're like, this place is electric. I love this atmosphere.
First of all, before my good friend is the strength coach for the Phillies, and he's the one who still gives me all my workouts and everything. We had him on Breaking Bats not too long ago, Morgan Gregory. But I texted him after they won, and I'm like, dude, how was that stadium? Because on TV I could see it. He's like, the place was shaking, literally. So, I've been in those seats before as a kid, so that must have been amazing. God, the best atmospheres. Wrigley, Chicago was amazing. People don't realize Cincinnati and Chicago Cubs is a pretty legit rivalry going on there. Whether that's because the Cubs fans like to come to Cincinnati, I'm not sure, because whenever we played them, it was packed and there was a lot of Cubs fans there. But that was always fun. And then San Diego, just in general, they love it so much. A lot of those games were phenomenal. At the Dodgers when they play there, crazy. And then unfortunately I experienced some stadiums on the road when it was a COVID year, so I didn't get the full effect of like Yankee Stadium.
Me too.
Fenway. So like that's one thing that hopefully in the future I'll get to experience. But yeah, those were probably playing in Petco against the Dodgers. That stuff's nuts. And the Cincinnati, Chicago, low key, pretty good rivalry there in terms of the fans, at least.
Yeah, I feel you on the COVID year, man. We played in Lambeau, but you know what? Lambeau, I still felt the juice. I still felt like, and you could feel the same way, right? Like you still felt it, but there wasn't as many fans there.
Exactly.
Yeah, we walked down the tunnel, and I was like, all right, this is cool, man. Like this is different. I had that feeling in Seattle in the XFL too. I was telling someone that the other day. I was like, I don't know why, but I just walked out there and it just hit me. I'm like, I just remember seeing Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson like going at it, and like when Seattle had those 3-4 years of just absolute dominance. I just remember that stadium and the rain and the fans and the 12th man. It just like, it hit me. I played in some bigger, more historic places in Seattle, and for some reason it hit me. All right. Under the bus. So we're throwing people under the bus. We got bus 1, Brian, and you can think about this as I go. If there's anybody you want to throw under the bus in your life, or sports fans, or just anything in sports, really. But that's how we do it. Under the bus. Who are we throwing under the bus? To me, it's all these people storming the field at the Tennessee Vols game. And it's not for storming the field. It's not for storming the field. And I'm going to get to it in a second. Under the Bus is brought to you by me, Amiche, the best Italian food in all of the Charlotte area. It's the best. My wife and I are probably going for lunch today. We have to literally argue of like, when are we going to go? Because we can't go like more than like 3 times a week. That gets a little crazy, right? So we're like trying to like, when are we going to go for lunch? Like, how are we going to stack this? It is so good. The chicken parm, everything. like the Utica greens, like everything is just ridiculously good and fresh, and everything's made in house. We're great friends with the owners. Like Nick is running all around Charlotte, getting the best fresh product, the cheeses, the breads, everything, the desserts, everything's unbelievable. Local product. Check them out. Amiche. Under the Bus is sponsored by Amiche. Tennessee Vols are under the bus. All their fans can go under the bus. You could be on bus one too for taking I put, here's who I put on bus one. The guys that got and gals that took the field goal post out of the stadium. And you know why? Because they weren't on their phones, because they had to grab this field goal post and remove it. You can't carry a field goal post and be on your phone at the same time. All of the people storming the field on your phones. I get it. Listen, I want you to watch this show. You have to be on your phone or laptop to watch the show or listen to this show. So I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth here. But when you were storming the field, your team just beat Alabama on a walk-off, absolute walk-off play. And you're over here, you're bumping into people and you're not even watching what's going on because you're trying to film it. To do what? To post it later? Like, I get that. I'm in that life. I'm media. I get it. I'm a player. I get it. But like, put your phone down and storm the freaking field. I made the same complaint last year when somebody upset somebody. I'm like, just enjoy it. So I'm throwing all the Tennessee Vols fans that weren't uprooting the field goal post under the bus. And the SEC should be fined, or should be under the bus too, for fining Tennessee for doing that. How are they going to stop those fans from storming the field? Come on.
Can't. There's no way.
Wow, Jack in the back shows up. What do you got, Jack? Don't scare us.
How do you feel? I was going to throw, instead of Tennessee fans, I'm going to throw Tennessee administration under the bus.
What do you got for us?
Did you see they're trying to get fans and everybody to cough up to pay for the new field goal posts?
Well, I mean, you know how much money they made off that win?
Those kids are paying like 40-some thousand a semester, a year, whatever, to go to that school. And they're going to ask for money to get a new field goal post. Tennessee has more than enough money right now to afford a new field goal posts. That is absurd. That's my little mini rant on this all.
I was pretty surprised when I saw that. I'm not really sure. They must need the money, right? I mean, why else would they be asking for donations for the field goal post? Because that's crazy.
Here's what Tennessee should do, right? We need help raising money for the field goal posts. Every cent that you donate, we will donate to a children's cancer, right? Something of that, and make it an awesome thing. Like, hey, this costs us $1,000. You know, every penny that you donate, we're donating 50 grand to freaking whatever, like something like that. That's how you do it. That's how you spin it. And that's how you do it the right way. And you bring positive light to something, because they made so much money that day. Oh my God. And that's an unbelievable place. What a game. What a game. How excited are you to be back in the States, Brian, watching?
Listen, me and JA have talked about this on Breaking Bats plenty. I am a huge football fan. I am a massive college football fan. Mm-hmm. My off season, my diet and things are very strict during the week, but Saturdays I sit on my couch for 12 hours. I eat as much food of whatever I want as I possibly can, and I'm watching college football. So I still root for Penn State. So I grew up there. My dad, obviously, it was a tough day for them Saturday. So the Tennessee-Alabama game that night brought me back a little bit, and it was, just the best college football game you can ask for. Shootout, back and forth, the ending, it was phenomenal. I loved it. It was the best. It
is the best. Jack, you should stay on here the rest of the time with us. I think there's a lot to unpack there. Of course, I forgot my train of thought because I wanted Jack in the back to stay on. No, I'm all Penn State now because of Pat Kraft, because Pat took over as the AD, and Pat was our AD at Temple when I was there. And
I got you.
So Pat's awesome. And I used to be a big time Penn State hater. But now I'm a fan. I clap my hands for him now. I can't. It's hard. My wife doesn't like him either because they upset her at Florida a couple times, and like her playoff madness, much March Madness, but her playoff bracket thing got busted a couple times by Penn State. So she's not a fan. I forget where I was going with it. Damn it. Yeah, Tennessee's under the bus big time for that one, but good win by them. Unbelievable. Oh, you know who's under the bus? Is what I was going to say. Jack, where are they at now? Where are all the people? They're under the bus. We didn't have the segment at the time, but they're under the bus too. All the people crying about NIL ruining college football. Was anybody thinking about NIL when that game was going on? No. Was that game different than any other college football game you've ever seen? No. Just the rage of just social media, which is great, right? Pays our bills and gets us on air and all that stuff. But like everyone pump the brakes. Like it's really not that bad. Were you thinking about NEL, Brian, when you were freaking going crazy when Alabama, that guy pushed that ball wide right?
No chance. That whole conversation still is very interesting to me, though. I will say that. Like I do, I think it needs some sort of tweaking, but that's a whole nother story. It can't be like free reign, but it's
100%.
It's not ruining college football. No, it's not.
Everyone's over. Oh, the sky falling because players are getting paid now. Yes, it is off the rails, Bri. It is off of the absolute rails. I wonder what the guys. I wonder what I would have had. I was top 10 in the country. Like, what would that look like? And even though I didn't play well, and I didn't play my first 2 years, like I probably would have made a couple.
You got something. Yeah,
dude, I would have got paid. And I wouldn't have done anything. And I would have been like, talk about the anxiety. I would have had crazy anxiety, like getting paid and then not performing. Like, and everyone's like, yeah, like that's easy. Like, I'll just, whatever, take care of my parents or something. But like, to me, like that's easier said than done when you get like a couple $100,000 in your pocket. I don't know.
Dude, people don't, it's like making money is obviously kind of the goal. So you can take care of your family. You can, do whatever it is that you want to do. But when that happens, it doesn't lessen the pressure of, if you're a competitor as an athlete, like how you want to play. Like if you're making all this money and you stink, you don't really like go to bed at night and be like, well, I'm making all this money. Now I'm not saying feel bad for these people and that, the money isn't great too, but I'm not saying that, like you said, guys don't feel the pressure anymore just because they're making a lot of money. I'd probably argue in most cases the opposite, to be honest. I'd say they feel more pressure once they're making that kind of money.
Yeah, because you're just still a kid playing baseball behind Archbishop Wood and the kid going to football practice in the summer. Like it's you still are, and you just have elevated and you just have outlasted people and you just keep going. Like even you, like, oh, Brian's taking a step back, maybe going over there. No, he's taking a step forward. He's playing ball. Like it doesn't matter where it is, you're getting better. You're still achieving your goal and then working on what you need to work on to go. I did it in the XFL. Like I remember just being like, all right, I'm here. Like, great. What am I going to do? And I remember, I don't care if I'm sore for games. I'm going to lift harder during the week. And like, because my job was, I'm going back to the league. And when I get to the league, I'm staying there. And if I don't stay there, great, I'll find a way back in. That's where I'm at. And I know you're there too. That's why you went over there. So yeah, lots to unpack there, but no, college football, the sky's not falling. Yes, it needs to be edited. It's crazy chaos, but the sky is not falling. We're going to pour some out. Listen, there's another segment we do. Som Sleep. We're pouring some out. Som Sleep, the best freaking sleep drink in the world. It saved my career. I've said it a million times on here. I absolutely love it. I take it almost about every night. It helps me wind down, helps me stay asleep, helps me sleep great through the night. Awesome. And then get up and rock and roll in the morning and just kick ass. I absolutely love it. Promo code Colin, promo code BATS. Check them out, guys, for 10%. SomSleep.com, magnesium, natural products. Again, promo code BATS, promo code Colin for 10% off. There's a lot of people complaining. We're pouring some out for the people complaining about this MLB format. What's that about, Bri? Jack, talk about it, Brian. What's the problem?
If you were passing under the bus to me, that's who was going under the bus for me was these people complaining about the playoffs.
Perfect.
Hey, first of all, listen, fans get bitter. I get it. They're looking for excuses about why their team lost. So I get, the people on Twitter, fans just saying that it's BS for whatever reason, whatever, expected. My problem is when you have national writers, whether that's, like people writing for The Athletic, if that's Los Angeles media people talking about it, like it's ridiculous. Like, shut up. I mean, stop. Can there be tweaks? Sure. You win the division or you get first or second, you get a bye. That is huge for lining up your pitching matchups. That is giving you the biggest advantage right there in terms of pitching. I would argue as a hitter, that time off is more of a disadvantage than it is an advantage, because you'd rather be seeing game at bats every day just because it's, you stay sharper that way. But is it the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world. So I think if you asked any manager or general manager in baseball, they'd want that bye to line up their pitching. Now, aside from all of this, this is why for like you as a football player, the NFL does a great job of promoting the game, right? And celebrating the game and, trying to make it safer and doing these things, which is great. No matter what the MLB does, and it's people who are involved with the MLB too, it's like there's always something wrong. Like, we can't just celebrate how great. First of all, they were a great series. Like, that was electric watching the Phillies beat the Braves and watching the Padres take down the Dodgers. Like, that was electric, right? The story afterwards is, oh, these playoffs suck, that the format's not right. It's not the Padres 5-run seventh inning to finally take down the Dodgers when it mattered. It's not, the Phillies putting on that show and scoring all those runs to knock out the Braves. Like, no, well, the top seeds didn't win, so there's something wrong with the playoff format. Like, no, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, enjoy it. Is it perfect? I mean, probably not, but what is? Like, enjoy the amazing baseball you get to see. Like, it just blows my mind. Like, the Braves, I'm going to keep this short. The Braves went on a great run late in the season, right? They couldn't sustain it. The Mets were struggling down the stretch, and they, playoffs went the same way. Scherzer lost in New York to the Padres. The Dodgers, yeah, they had 111 wins. A lot of their guys who have these certain standards as hitters didn't play that well this year. Their top three guys were unbelievable, and Josh Hader struck them out on 10 pitches to seal the deal in the series, down 2 runs. So the Astros, what happened to them? No problem, right? They had to buy everything everyone's complaining about. The Astros won in 18 innings, no less, to seal the deal. And then you got an unbelievable winner take all tonight with the Yankees and Guardians. And it's like, how are you complaining about this? I get it. Your team lost. You're upset. That's fine. But the media, like, stop, celebrate it, enjoy it, promote the game, not tear it down. Something's wrong all the time. I hate that.
Well said. Clip that, Jack. That's a golden quote from Brian. No, you're right. It's freaking on the ball. I have nothing else to say. We're pouring some out for you this week, MLB and all the media and everyone else. You poured some sleep out. You want to sleep better? Promo code BATS, promo code Colin, 10% off. You're going to need it. Media. Yeah, I got on them big last week, Bri. This was the media. This was the MLB on the scheduling. I was so pissed. Like,
yeah,
I can just do it like 1:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. People got to work. Who's watching the game? We're trying to grow the game. The future of the game is the kids in school.
Yeah. Even
the high school kids. You don't get out till 2:30, like whatever, 2:15 we got out. So, like, how am I going to watch that game? Like, that to me, like, I'd rather have later games. Yankees, you're the big time show. They got to be on at 8:00. I get it. That's baseball. That pays your bills. Just like when the freaking Packers are on at 8, it pays my bills. Like, it all helps football. So, like, put them on at 8:00. Put the Phillies on at 7. Houston's got a big market. There's a lot of big markets. Don't blow it and have it freaking be a noon game in Houston. No one's there. So it kills it, and it promotes the white collar group that can afford to go and just take days off of work. And it kills the blue collar group. It kills the kids, the future of the sport, which that's what got me. Before I would just mimic what the NFL does. Not that I'm in it, but man, oh man, they just keep continuing to grow, and these younger players we're going to have it way better than we had it. Like, the freaking league is a rocket. So, all right. Our last segment brought to you by SeatGeek. Check them out. Going to a game, you're going to need a discount going to a game, folks, especially if you're going to these games right now in the MLB. Jack knows it. What's the deal we're getting, Jack? Because I always fumble it.
You get $20 off your first order, $50 or more using promo code Colin Thompson, COLINTHOMPSON. Forgot a little spelling there. Promo code Colin Thompson, $20 off your first order, $50 or more. SeatGeek.
SeatGeek. Check them out. Brian may have been to this bar of the week brought to you by SeatGeek. Brian, have you been to the Mosquito Grill before in Doylestown, Pennsylvania?
I don't think I have.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was looking through my list. I'm like, where's the place that Brian's been to, that we probably mutually been to? And there's been I'm sure there's plenty, but we didn't have time to talk about this before. Bar of the week this week is Mosquito Grill in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. I grew up going to this bar, hanging out, eating wings with my dad, watching Flyers games, watching Phillies games. And hey, it's a great place to watch sports. It's a small, a dive bar with awesome food. I think that's a great way to say it. And they have the best smoked wings. They have the great service. They have great people. It's local. It's right in the heart of Doylestown, right across from Ventresca's, right at the bottom of the hill there, right near Central Bucks West High School. It is the best place to grab a bite to eat before going to like a high school game or just hanging out in Doylestown on a Saturday. It's a great little dive bar with awesome food. Mosquito Grill, Doylestown, Pennsylvania is our bar of the week this week, brought to you by GEEK Food and Ambiance. I love their food. The ambiance is a cool little dive bar. So I'm going to give them a 5 out of 5. I absolutely love that. The TVs are smaller, but it's a smaller place, so they find a way to fit them in. I think it's great. You always have a good sight line on the TV. They're a 4 out of 5. The beers are cold. It's a great time there. The drinks are good. That's a 4 out of 5. And the service is a 4 out of 5. So another solid score. Bar of the week this week, the Mosquito Grill, Doylestown, Pennsylvania, with a 17 out of 20. So awesome stuff. Guys, check out our friends over at Actions Over Words. Jack's repping the hat right there, the golden, the logo, Actions Over Words. They're donating this month's charity of choice is to breast cancer awareness. Just check out what they're doing on Actions Over Words, guys. An unbelievable company where they're just constantly giving, which is unbelievable, and just credit to them, and a great local business down in Cape May, New Jersey that we're just love being paired with at Actions Over Words, actionsoverwordsapparel.com. Brian O'Grady joined us from Breaking Bats, man. We appreciate you coming on today, Brian. That was great.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I love hopping on here, and good to be back and talk to you guys a little bit. It's always fun talking some football too. I enjoy that.
Yeah, you mix it up a little bit. Brian came on the show probably a year ago and was like, hey man, text me a week later. He's like, we got to do a podcast. And here we are with Breaking Bats. He's repping the hat. We got the apparel. Got to get some more of that dialed up too. We could talk about that off air, but awesome stuff, man. Congrats on a great year. Looking forward to seeing you back wherever you are next year, man. I know you're excited to get back in the States, get back in the majors, and it's going to be an awesome freaking playoff series, man. So this is a collaboration between my show, The Colin Thompson Show, Breaking Bats. Again, appreciate the great Tom McCarthy joining us today. Appreciate all our sponsors. That's Jack in the back. That's Brian. I'm Colin Thompson. Have a great day, guys.